Hey guys, it's Dan again, and I want to do a demonstration of some of the techniques I discussed in the IPM video. And we're looking at some kale here, and this kale has had some damage from the cabbage worms that I was discussing. And this is what that damage looks like. So you want to be on the lookout for things like that, skeletonized leaves, holes. This one, that's also typical. And what the cabbage worm itself actually looks like is this little green caterpillar right there. This one is a pretty big one. That's kind of like an adult. They get to be about an inch long before they pupate and turn into the white butterflies. So once you start seeing those white butterflies, you want to kind of start being on the lookout for any damage to your kale. So at first or any brassicas that you're growing, so collards, cabbage, etc. You might see some tiny little yellow specks underneath the leaves. Those are the eggs. And then shortly after that, you'll see the frass, which is the droppings, which are little like green specks. And then you'll start seeing the cabbage worms themselves. Here's a smaller one. So at this stage, I had a bigger issue here because I kind of let it get out of hand, unfortunately, and then I had to kind of hurry and race to catch up with it. So I thinned the seedlings pretty intensely, and these aren't even seedlings anymore. I mean, these are dwarf kale, so they're pretty much full grown. I removed a lot of damaged leaves. I removed a lot of leaves closer to the ground. And now that the worms have emerged, one thing I'm doing, I'm just sort of picking them off and discarding them. You know, you can put them in a cup of water or something like that. And that manual control, that's the first step in an integrated pest management system. Yeah, there's another one there. And then I might kind of thin these down a little bit more. But another thing that I've been doing here, and this is I guess it's essentially it's not really a chemical control, but what I've done is I've made that mixture. I used about a quarter of a cup of baking soda, quarter of a cup of flour, and a little bit of salt as well. And I mixed it together by hand, and now I'm just going to kind of sprinkle it on the leaves, on all the leaves of the kale. I'm going to try to get under, over, and this will cause a bloat reaction that will kill the caterpillars. It's very, it's not toxic. It's not a pesticide really of any kind. It's a very low impact control. And if you have cabbage worms on any of your cole crops or brassicas, this is a good place to start. And you can do it during the manual control portion. And then if it doesn't work, or if you still have a really bad issue, you can consider moving to a BT pesticide or something like that, but I often don't find that it's necessary to do that. If you are going to do this method of control, I would recommend doing it in the morning. It's pretty early in the morning right now. The plants have dew on them, and that's going to help this mixture stick to them. And that's just an example of a simple IPM strategy. You have to make sure your plants are healthy. You have to make sure they're thinned properly. Notice the problem when it starts. So once you see once you see the butterflies, start looking for the caterpillars. Maybe you want to cover the plants with a net. And then proceed to a manual control once you start seeing that damage, that kind of characteristic damage, which is the holes, the bite marks, the skeletonization. So that's it for this one. I hope you've found this bit on pest control useful, and I'll probably do some more on some other common pests and diseases as well as the season moves forward. So I'll talk to you again soon.